Hey guys, this is Bill Manning
And Stephen Wallace.
with Studio C41. We just wanted to reach out to you guys and let you know, hey, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, all those outlets.
On the YouTubes.
So it helps us out and, spread the word.
Rate us on iTunes. Subscribe on there. Share it with your friends, your enemies, whoever you want.
And go out and shoot some film.
Dang it.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Hey everybody, this is Bill Manning. This is Studio C41, and we made it to episode 10.
Holy crap.
We're in the double digits, man. How you doing?
We're done now, right? This is it?
This is it. All right. So
Okay, cool.
We'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
And that was it. That was our entire podcast. I am well, Bill. Apparently just as ridiculous and sarcastic as ever, but doing really well, man. How about you?
Doing good. I'm here.
That's a good start.
I'm vertical. So
And we are not alone this week. We've got a guest with us.
yes, we do. Hi. This is Jordana. How are you doing?
Good. How are y'all?
Doing well.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for being here. Thanks for making the trip out from Athens.
Yeah,
Yeah, how was the drive in?
not too bad. It's quicker to come to the north side of Atlanta, so yeah, not bad.
Makes sense.
I haven't been over in Athens since my fraternity days.
Oh, good grief.
Yeah. So that was, I don't remember much.
Largely what Athens is for, but
Yeah. So, but it definitely wasn't for any football games. I don't really watch American football. I watch football. So unfortunately, Atlanta United did not do so well last night. So I'm a little sad about that.
hey, it's all right, man. I mean, the only sport I really pay attention to is hockey because if I don't, they take away my Canadian citizenship.
Sorry.
Oh, so sorry. So, we've got, like we said, Jordana is here with us, and she is a local photographer in the Atlanta area, living in Athens now, but, still part of the Atlanta area, and producing some fantastic work and shooting on film. And we really wanted to have the chance to just branch out in kind of our topics from, we had KEH, it was really gear heavy and focused, obviously, because they're a camera broker.
Mm-hmm.
And then also really enjoyed getting to talk with Mary Margaret from the Booth Museum about just, her view on art and photography and from a kind of curator standpoint. So to actually have a working photographer who has, a fine art background in here with us as well, which that'd be really great to actually start to get involved more with the local photography community from even other photographers' standpoint. And plus, it'd be nice to hear somebody talk who's not me and Bill for a while.
This is true.
And plus, also to get much more diversity in here too. It's been a little dude heavy,
It has.
right?
Yeah. And I feel like that there is a mansplaining with photography a lot, and
Dude,
it
it's
really is.
stupid.
It is.
Especially like what was that whole campaign that Nikon did with the new what was it, the 850 or
Yeah, the D850.
yeah, they gave it to like 30 professional photographers who were all men.
Yeah, it looked really bad.
Real bad.
Yeah. So, but it's there are. I mean, one of my biggest influences is Annie Lee Woods. I mean, she does such an amazing amount of work, and I'm glad that there are, I would say, a good presence of working women in the photography area. And it's one of those things, like I work in tech as well. I mean, I think it's like in our office space, it's like one woman for like every 4 or 5 guys, So I mean, it's very refreshing to do that, and then just to have you on the show. I mean, your work is amazing. I mean, we had you come on here because we see your work. I mean, everybody that I've talked to was like, "Oh, I love Jordana's work," and so
That's so cool.
an absolute pleasure to have you on there.
Plus, we've been friends for a while, so it's just a good
Yes.
excuse to hang out.
Yay, friends.
This is true.
Exactly. But speaking of Friends, we'd love to have you weigh in on some of this stuff too. I don't know if Friends is a really good segue for that, but you're here and we're going to talk about photo news and stuff. So we got a few things to kind of get through.
Yes.
So yeah, what do we got, Bill?
All right. So I'm going to try my best not to get onto this FujiNOTfilm rant. I'm going to try my best to be fair and balanced on this.
I'm proud of you for trying, Bill.
Trying. So, because I mean, we did a whole episode on E6 last week, and I was like, man, this feels great. You know, Ectochrome is coming out, and we had this great conversation of E6.
You went and like ordered a pack of Provia in 4x5, like right after that. Too.
Yes, I did. And then FujiNOTfilm does this. Unfortunately, in March of 2018 and May of 2018, there are going to be some emulsions that are going to be cut back, not fully discontinued, but except for the Acros 100 in 4x5 is stopped production.
And 8x10.
And 8x10, which is huge because I have come to love Acros so much.
One of my favorite black and white films, which luckily they're continuing 4x5 and 35 millimeter for the hopefully not just for the time being, but I mean they discontinued their color negative film in 4x5 years ago, so you know hopefully they'll keep it in the smaller formats.
Yeah. So just going through the list here, I mean, you know, Velvia 50, Velvia 100, and Provia F or 100F. In the 5-packs are being discontinued, and so they'll still sell it in the individual packs, but Bellamy Hunt posted out literally just last night an article saying that this does not bode well for the emulsion. Usually that kind of means that they're done with the production on making the 5-packs or the Pro Packs and then just doing just the individual rolls as far as what they have left in stock.
Which I'm interested to see how that's going to play out. Hopefully that won't be the case.
Yeah.
I mean, Velvia 50's been Fuji's, you know, I want to say their flagship film for so long.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking earlier, and over 10 years ago, they discontinued Velvia 50 when they came out with Velvia 100. And there was an outcry. It was like so much so that they actually started production of the 50 again. So it would be crazy surprising to see them just abandon that film.
Well, and Velvia 50 too, I mean, is so iconic because it kind of dethroned Kodachrome.
Right? Yeah, it did.
So, I mean, it's one of their most iconic lines of film. So I'm really sad to see it because I did shoot some Velvia 50 in 120, and it's a beautiful emulsion. I mean, the colors just come out of it, just pop. And I mean, you really don't need to do, like, if you nail exposure on it, you don't need to do anything to it.
I need to shoot some more of it. Guys, like I said last time, I've got rolls of it sitting in my freezer that I need to do something with. But I will say in that, like, Bellamy could be right. I hope he's wrong.
Sure.
I think he hopes he's wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
But the fact that like Acros, I don't think they ever made it in 5-roll packs. So it's been single roll packs the entire time in 35 millimeter.
You know, it's interesting that picture that you sent me on Instagram of Fujifilm at Photo Plus. If you look really, really closely, I think there is a Pro Pack of Acros 100 and 120.
Oh yeah, no, that's the only way they sell it in 120.
Oh, okay.
So gotcha. Same thing like 400H, they only sell it in the 5-packs on 120, but in 35 millimeter they've been selling it in individual roll packs.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, so yeah, that's on its way. You know, there's other ones. There's so Natura 1600,
which that sucks.
Yes.
That's been my kind of. Jordana was awesome enough to model for just a fun session for me earlier. Jeez, that was just like January of this year.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah, so we just hung out and like just shot some film, and she was up for hanging out and being the model
in the rain.
In the rain, that was a ton of fun. But I shot a roll of that, like the first roll I ever got of that film, and it turned out really cool.
Which ones? I didn't know that you were shooting that roll.
Yeah, I'll have to send you some of the images of it. It's got a really, really tight grain for being 1600 speed film.
Cool.
And like just a cool tone to it and everything that's really muted. But it's one of those films that Fuji's made kind of exclusively for Japan. And so they just being Fuji and being weird, the only way to get it here was to like find some site who would import it. Like Amazon would sell it, but like regular retailers just don't have it. So it's a weird thing. It's like their Pro 160 NS. You can't buy it in the US.
Yeah.
You can buy a roll of it. Like I went to a camera store in Canada and you can buy it off the shelf, but they just don't have it for sale in the United States.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I'll see somebody on the film photographers group saying, "Hey, I'm making a trip to Japan. Do you need me to pick up any stuff for you?"
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So Fuji's just got these weird mentalities about some things like that. There's even like different, just like consumer 400 speed film that's slightly different than the regular 400 extra they sell here.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry to see that film go.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed.
That one's completely discontinued now, or gonna be in March?
That one's in May, isn't it? Or is it March that it's totally going away?
May 2018 is when they're actually killing off Natura 1600 36 exposure in individual rolls.
Because they killed the 3-packs last year, I want to say. But
yeah, and they're doing that. They're killing the 3-packs now for the Superia X-Tra 400 in 24 and 36 exposure 3-pack. So it's some sad news. I mean, we were just finished talking about it. I said, just go out and shoot some slide film because we don't know how long we have it for. And, now we're kind of seeing time's starting to get really limited on that. So
yeah, like I said, hopefully it'll be a long time before they discontinue it entirely. But it's unfortunate for sure.
Yeah.
But hopefully, we do have good news. Like Ektachrome is coming back soon.
Yes. Here's the thing. Like after you kind of told me about Cibachrome, it's like I really hope with Ektachrome, like we talked about how it doesn't scan very well, or its slide film in general does not scan very well. So I'm really, really hoping that like Kodak has taken that in and like saying, what can we do to fix this?
Yeah, totally.
Because Cibachrome, Ilfochrome, they don't exist anymore. And from what you've told me, I mean, that would be the preferred way to print slide onto paper.
Oh, hands down, yeah.
So I don't know. It'd be really cool if Kodak said, "Hey, we're going to bring back some form of not exactly Cibachrome because it's trademarked by Ilford and all that stuff, but it'd be really cool if they said, "Here's a chemical process to go along with Ektachrome." But I highly doubt that.
Yeah, I doubt that too. But if it was just formulated to be able to be scanned better, would be
I would
great.
be cool with that.
Well, speaking of trying to scan slides, so I actually got my rolls of Scala back from DR5.
Ooh.
They just came in the mail yesterday, so pretty great timing. And dude, so I have one roll here that was it was that roll was I shot 11 and a half years ago. So it's been sitting in my fridge since March 2006. And just because there wasn't the Agfa labs closed up that could process that. And
That's awesome.
I found out about DR5, the guys who do the black and white slide film processing. And unfortunately, too late. They had actually had to close and move to a different state. So they were closed for a couple of years, it feels like.
Right.
So they finally got up and running again, and I sent the stuff out and just got it back. And I am blown away with how well this came out. Like most of the time, like I've had other types of film that have been sitting around for 11 years that, or a long time in my fridge, and just look like crap.
Really?
Like I've had latent images are such a gamble as far as how well they'll come out.
Those are beautiful.
And this came out really, really well. So if it's, just to the old Agfa Scala 200X, or I think a lot of it has to do with DR5's process, because the guy's incredibly meticulous. It's all hand mixed. It's a handmade chemistry set. He will, like, if the water pH is off, he like reformulates his whole process. So he's like very, very, very like anal about it in a very good way. And then I also got my roll of the new Acros Scala 160, which is also like Alex. It's the same thing as like there's a Silberra Max. I think it's the exact same film. They just brand it differently to try to promote it as being processed as slides. That I shot in back in May in Banff, and that came out really cool too.
Wow, gorgeous.
Very cool. So you're gonna do a blog on this, right?
I am actually.
Yeah.
Thanks for encouraging me to do that, Bill. So I'm gonna just try to scan some of this in and do a post. Hopefully, I might put something up on my own website and blog, or once we get our own thing going on. But we'll promote it on social media for sure.
Absolutely, man. I mean, 11 years, and I mean, it looks fantastic.
I had no idea what was on here too, but this looks as good as the Scala that I had processed by Agfa's lab, back in the day.
Wow.
So I'm very, very excited. But trying to scan it, I'm just tried to scan a couple images here on the Frontier at Dunwoody Photo, and it did not look good at all.
Really?
Yeah. So I've never tried to scan like a black and white slide on a newer generation Frontier like these. I did it back in the day when I was shooting 2004, 2005 on an older system, and it came out pretty well. But I don't know if it's just because the way that these are set up, optimized for newer emulsions or what. It just did not. I haven't messed with it at all, but it just did not look good when I first looked at the pictures.
And I envy, so somebody commented on the YouTube video, and I absolutely envy this person because they said that they still have a Scala process or a place for them to take their Scala and get it processed. I'm like,
oh, where are they at?
Europe. He didn't say exactly. So
Cool.
Koenig F50 said that he says, still have 2 rolls of Scala and happy to say that I have a place here in Europe that develops it still. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I don't know. I might have to get a roll and just, just be patient and just do it.
At least like the new ADAX stuffs too. Like I know Michael gave us a couple rolls of that.
I don't think I got it.
Oh, okay. Well,
I wasn't cool enough.
That came out really cool. But DR5, the cool thing about this guy's process is any black and white negative film he can process as a slide. And so we were talking about it before, looking on his website. You go on there and it will actually have examples of all the different types. So like
That's cool.
Ilford HP5 is one of his favorite ones for it. And he's tested it. So I think he says to rate it at 250 instead of 400 ISO. And like just gives you all these different examples of it. Or if you push it to this is how it comes out.
And that's cross processing, but just with black and white.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's cross process in his like specific process of stuff. So
Cool.
it comes out really cool. He's a one-man operation, and patience is definitely key.
Yeah.
It takes some time to get back, so I wouldn't send anything that is a rush order, but it's totally worth getting done. So I'm going to figure out a good way. Maybe the macro lens on a light table will probably be the best way to shoot these.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because I did that with some color slide film, and it came out really well. Because
That's
you
cool.
get the whole dynamic range in it versus a
That's
scanner. It's a little bit closer to a drum scan. You just got to make sure you got the focus right and your exposure set right and everything on your DSLR.
Yeah. Just don't use the one from the D850. I don't know if you caught that article or not.
Oh, so that thing doesn't work? The little negative scanner?
There was not a stellar review for it. They said that it still needs some work. I thought about putting it in the notes, and but I wanted to be more about Jordana tonight.
Yes,
so,
true.
Whatever.
we'll cover it on the next episode because I really want to get into the meat and potatoes of that one. But apparently, it did not do so great, and it was a little bit disappointing. So
I was skeptical about it to begin with because that whole just shooting with the DSLR and inverting in like Photoshop or Lightroom or whatever, it works great on black and white.
yeah,
And it's great on a slide because you're taking a picture of a positive already.
right.
But color negative film, man, I can't even scan color negative film well on an Epson scanner or something that's not like a dedicated film scanner. I just never get the colors I want out of it. So it might be the same kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, moving on to more black and white film, even though there was sad news with Fujifilm going away, there is a little bit of a silver halide lining, maybe. I don't know. Is that pretty bad? A bad joke?
Well, considering it's actually silver gelatin in black and white and not silver halide.
See, I'm a newbie. So listen here. I don't claim to know everything about film, so I am right there with you guys. I'm very passionate about it, and Steven's the know-it-all. So,
True.
Yeah.
so I'm just going to throw you under the bus with that one too.
It's fine. You should. I am, and I try not to be, but I just remember a whole lot of random
But you
crap.
also just know a lot of things. It's a compliment.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
Smart ass. So anyway, so there is a company out in Russia, in Soviet Russia. Sorry,
Dude, how did I know you were going to do that?
Because
you
I
were,
already did the
you were
joke.
making like Yakov Smirnov puns via Facebook Messenger.
In Soviet Russia, film camera shoot you.
Just stop it. It's okay.
That's right.
Especially because Yakov Smirnov is still alive and still doing really funny comedies. So there's
Yes.
that.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, I'll stick to what I know best, and that's not film.
Oh man, but yes, there is a company.
Silberra
Silberra.
Films.
Yes, it is a Russian company. Which I mean, good grief! Like we were just talking before, that there's been like half a dozen companies coming out this year with new films.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, Bellamy is right. I mean, 2018. I mean, we haven't even gotten to 2018, but he's saying 2018 is going to be the year of film. And I mean, this last quarter, I mean, we've seen more announcements in film, and we're anticipating more and more film coming out. So,
I mean, the brothers Wright called it, man. The guys who do Cine Still, this is our renaissance. It really, really is.
It is.
It's so exciting.
Yeah, but I'm excited about this. It's all black and white, but they have a really broad range of films for being somebody who's just coming out.
Yeah. So, Steven, let me know what. So we were talking about the ortho film. So that's one of the lines that's coming out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're doing pan films and ortho films. So which now you just talked about me being a know-it-all and stuff. So
Now I want to know.
Okay. All of the black and white film we have today, or the most modern black and white film, is what's called panchromatic film. So you look at a film like, say, Ilford Pan F50, or pan things that are like I don't even know, like a lot of films are called pan films, has in the name. Even Tri-X Pan, they used to have that on all the negatives back in the day.
Yeah.
It's to differentiate itself from ortho film or orthochromatic film. Panchromatic film is sensitive to all colors of light. Orthochromatic film is just like silver gelatin paper you use in a dark room. It's not sensitive to that kind of like red, yellow, orange spectrum. It's only sensitive to blues and greens. So the film now, ortho film, it's got a very unique kind of vintage look to it. There's just certain tonalities about it that are different from regular black and white film, because old film from like the 30s earlier was only orthochromatic.
Yeah, that's what one of the some of the images I was looking at here. I was like, wow, that doesn't even look like it was taken from this century. I mean,
yeah, it's also wet plates are orthochromatic too,
Oh,
typically,
okay.
because that's why you can develop them under a safe light.
Okay.
okay.
So
Is that why like the skin tones and like the freckles?
exactly, that's why it's almost as if you put a green filter in front of your lens.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So it's got a really similar effect. And I used I don't know if did you ever do like alternative process like cyanotype and Van
I
Dyke
didn't
Brown?
take that class.
Oh,
I
that class was
should've.
fun.
Yeah.
It was a giant pain, but it was a lot of fun. So we had to, in school, used to do these alternative processes like a cyanotype, which is a blue and white emulsion. And this is total rabbit trail, but we used you have to do a contact print form. You can't like enlarge a negative to it. So if you wanted to do like a 8x10 image, you had to have an 8x10 negative. So we weren't shooting 8x10 cameras. So you'd take like a 35 millimeter negative and print it in the darkroom onto sheets of ortho film. And then you would take that and then you would actually develop it just like you would a print. And then you take that and put it onto another piece of ortho film, do another contact print to make another negative. So you had to go from shooting your negative to make a positive to make a negative to go make another positive finally on your finished like cyanotype.
Cool, though.
It was a lot of fun. Although most people now who do that kind of alternative process stuff will do transparencies from an inkjet printer, because having to do like a copy of a copy of a copy, you lose a lot of tonality to it. Just reminded me, there's actually somebody who our friend Neil Carpenter knows who does like some fantastic cyanotypes. So we should try to get her to talk about alternative process and stuff. But
and I believe John Mason at the photographer studio, he also does classes every once in a while on cyanotypes.
cyanotype is fun,
Yeah.
because even without like that transparency or negative, all you could do photograms on it, which is where you place an object like a feather or a
Leaf.
are like really common, but like it could be anything that blocks light from getting to the paper. And then all you need to develop a cyanotype is water. You don't need any kind of other chemicals. So that's it. Water will remove it and fix it and everything.
Yeah, it's pretty cool seeing that process, especially when you throw the water onto the cyanotype.
Yeah, and it washes away that.
Yeah.
So it's cyanotypes are a lot of fun. But I can't even. We were talking about black and white films. You asked me.
Sorry.
See, know it all.
We made a right-hand turn at Albuquerque.
Yeah, we really did. You opened
did.
Pandora's box of all of the random crap that I can ramble about.
Well, I'll bring it back. So Silberra,
yes.
Silberra has their pan film, so they're in ISO 160, ISO 100. Why did they put 160? So I copy a lot of
They
these
actually
notes.
they've got a 50, a 100, and a 160.
Yes, thank you. But the notes that I pulled from here, so I'll admit, I copied and pasted it from their Indiegogo, and their Indiegogo listed 160 first. So I'm like, why did you do that?
Just to confuse you, Bill.
Yeah, I know.
Just for this occasion.
It's like backwards. So it's 160, 150. Anyway, and then they have a limited edition of their Pan 200 and Silberra Ultima 200.
Yeah, there's two different 200 speed films that they claim are takeoffs from old Agfa emulsions.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and actually backed it on Indiegogo, and it's really cheap in comparison to a lot of other Kickstarters and crowdfunding things. Like that's $15. You get 2 rolls, one of each of those limited 200 ISO films.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Or I think it's for like 5 rolls of their 120 is something like $50.
Yeah.
So it's not that much more than some pro packs of film cost retail.
Yeah.
So it's really reasonable, and they have really quick delivery times on this stuff. Like that 200 speed film is supposed to be coming by this December.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm kind of, if you guys hear this on social media and stuff like that, please back it, because right now, I mean, it's only been out, I want to say maybe 2 days at most. So they have a month left, and they're only 8% funded, which I find kind of interesting because Yashica, their Digifilm was instantly funded within like a day. This to me seems like so much cooler.
It's weird, man. Just crowdfunding is always such a roll of the dice.
Yeah,
that's like every time Lomography does a Kickstarter campaign for their newest camera, it's funded the same day.
It's just about brand recognition.
Yeah, it really is.
Who you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And Silberra is not like some new company. Like they've actually been making photochemicals since 2009. So they've been around for a while. They're just now wanting to get into the film market
and doing like a more like if you read their thing, they're making this film either way.
Exactly.
It's really just this crowdfunding is for them to be able to make, I guess, more consistent, larger scale production.
Right.
Which is really cool. It looks, from the test images, look really, really promising versus like even something like the Ferragna, the Italian company, their P30 film, which is beautiful, but the first few images from it were very much a test film, like full of like scratches and like,
I remember that.
This stuff looks really, really solid. So I think it's exciting. I think it's worth checking out. And yeah, I mean, throw them a few dollars and get some rolls of film.
Yeah, and I mean, $15. It's really, I mean, that's so low risk. I mean, I've seen people like, what was the big one? The drone. I want to say maybe it was like.
Was this one of the Kickstarters that didn't come to fruition and people lost all their money on?
Yeah, it was like over $1 million, and like they stopped. I think what ended up happening was the technology for. That they created, like the whole hand motions and stuff like that, that was all pretty much like eaten up by DJI like so fast, and that like they were completely beating the market, so they couldn't even put it out there, and so they were like, oh, we're just shutting our doors, and all the backers like not so fast, and so like a whole lawsuits like popped up now as a result. So
so that's the whole thing. And I am so like I will just say like when it comes to like especially roll film and stuff, like I will get behind and back almost any like crowdfunding campaign at this point. This is really when it comes to it being something that we care about, is putting our money where our mouth is.
Right.
Unfortunately, the only thing that I've ever gotten really I feel disappointed about is New 55.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of when you said
I haven't shot
one
any
that bombed.
Yeah, well, it's so. Jeez, I mean, I don't know how much we want to get on another tangent, but I will just say that it was. They faced so many challenges, but they took so long to do anything. It was almost 2 years before they delivered anything after their Kickstarter campaign ended.
Oh, wow.
And the film just was not good. It was to the point where the Polaroid 20x24 studio, which is shutting down as soon as they run out of material, I want to say maybe through the end of this year or early 2018.
Yeah.
They were looking at New 55 as a resource to make more material for them. And they said, it's just not there. It won't do the job. It's not good enough. We'd rather shutter and leave it the legacy of this amazing camera than put like subpar stuff into it.
Oh,
Right.
man.
So which sucks. And
Super sad.
you know, I mean, I really wish New 55 well. It seems like they've maybe gotten a little bit more momentum lately, but it's just a lot of people felt burned on that whole thing.
Yeah. Going into that Polaroid really quick, I saw there was an event that they were doing, like the final tour of that Polaroid 20x24.
Oh man, it was here in Atlanta.
Was it here in Atlanta?
It was amazing. They actually had the Hathaway Gallery in Atlanta had a they had it in town for about a week. You could book a portrait session with it, and it was.
I think it was like $150 or something like that.
Yeah, on the cheap end. And they
Yeah.
actually had another artist who would do a photo for you, like a more notable artist than the guy who runs the camera.
Right.
And it was even more. It was something like $600-700 or something to have her take your photo. But it was, they had prints of it hanging around that they'd just done there in the gallery. Gorgeous. I mean,
my gosh.
and the camera itself's a work of art. And they had a really cool talk. John Reuter, I believe is how you say his name, is the guy who has been basically running this camera since the 80s.
Wow.
So it's been his life's work, essentially, working with this camera. And it was just seeing the thing in person was just brilliant. I mean, it's a camera that takes a 20x24 inch Polaroid, a peel apart film. It's a huge view camera, and it's beautiful.
I'll try to find a picture of it and post it up on Facebook, because I mean I was like, I can, like, it took a ruler and I was just like, oh, that seems pretty big, and then I looked at it and it was like there's a guy like sitting in front of it. I was like, oh my god, that thing's huge.
The images taken with this thing, you can find some stuff even like of contemporary celebrities and people that have been photographed.
Yeah, they did one with
like,
Obama.
Yeah, they did. Stephen Colbert, they did some shots with him recently. I want to say it was Jimmy Carter's. Might have been Jimmy Carter. I think his official presidential portrait was taken on a 20x24 camera.
Wow.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, I do remember reading about that.
So it's this beautiful thing. He's actually, John has been making a film about the camera and its history and kind of saying farewell to it and stuff. So it's a sad thing to see kind of pass, but it's also just this beautiful thing that is, if you get a chance to even just see one in person, I'm sure they're going to, I think one of the working cameras is going to be maybe given to the Smithsonian. I know the museum school in Boston has had one since they brought the camera out.
Wow.
So it's beautiful. And speaking of Polaroids, hey, that was a good segue.
Yes, it is.
I got my one step too, and I love it. It is a ton of fun. I'll just really quick, because I'm actually going to do a little review on my own website, StephenWallacePhoto.com.
I didn't say you could plug your site. And I'm kidding.
Well, so I am planning to do just a little review about it, just my impressions of the camera, share images and stuff, and just talk a little bit. I'd love to. I've had a long love affair with Polaroid, and then the Impossible Project, and now Polaroid Originals. So I'm just excited to see that this thing has happened, that the Polaroid name is back to meaning some awesome innovations and things.
Yeah.
And this camera's just fun. Like, I'm really glad I got in the first round of it. You can still get them pre-ordered. They're going to be delivered in middle of November. But it's a really solid, well-built camera. It's plastic. Almost everything on it's plastic except for the rollers, but it feels good. It doesn't feel like it's cheaply made. It doesn't feel like older one-step cameras that if you drop them, they're going to shatter into a million pieces.
Right.
And it's just fun to shoot. It's definitely a different animal than something like an SX70 where it's manual focus and It's an SLR, so I'm getting used to the viewfinder on it and still kind of like getting the kinks out of it. But it's super fun, and the new iType film or just any of the Polaroid Originals film is gorgeous. It is really much more like shooting old Polaroids. It's more consistent. The spread of the chemistry is really nice and even. I had some examples, did some side by sides, and the Impossible project last generation still had spreading issues. You get kind of the splotchy look in the corners.
Right.
Some of the chemistry's leaking out a little bit on it, which is a beautiful effect in itself too. Like we were talking about that, you kind of get that spider web in the corner look, or
never know what's gonna happen.
Exactly, which is a beautiful thing, but sometimes has, like you were saying, it's wrecked some images where you get that inconsistency right in the middle of the frame. Mm-hmm. This stuff is a much more consistent film, and it's got a better contrast. The shadows are richer. I'm really impressed so far.
I'm wondering, do you know like why that is? Does it have to do with the fact that they're Polaroid again, that their chemistry is better, or?
I think it's been something that they wanted to make the announcement, and I have nothing to base this on other than the fact that I think they wanted it to be that much better when they were going to come out as the Polaroid Originals brand. That's been the thing that I've always loved about the Impossible project from day one. They said that this is a work in progress. That they had to reformulate everything. They got equipment from Polaroid, but when Polaroid stopped making film, companies who made the chemicals for them went out of business.
Yeah.
So raw materials were just gone. So they had to reformulate everything, even the type of battery that it used. And it was always from the very first step, this is a big, long experiment. We're trying to do something impossible, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it was the next iteration. If it hadn't have been Polaroid Originals, the new Impossible project film would have probably been this good.
Oh, okay. Cool.
But I think it was just that extra timing. They wanted it to all be that much better to
Makes
come out
sense.
and be no, this is much more like the Polaroid you saw 10, 20 years ago.
Cool.
So I think it's just all just kind of very careful strategy. But they've been great about promoting it and everything too. Talking about Photo Plus, they've got a giant booth and everything there, and it's been a really positive reaction to it.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because I've been in contact with Polaroid Originals. I'm trying to get somebody to come onto the show, and the marketing team, they're just we're still thinking about you, but it's really, really busy. And I'm like, it's totally fine. I totally understand. I don't want to get in the way. I'm this podcast is minuscule in the comparison to what you guys are doing. So trust me, whenever you guys are ready, just let me know. We're here. So it was really cool to at least get an email back from them on that.
Yeah,
so.
No, they're great people. They really are. And just the cheaper film also. So that's the big thing. This uses the iType film, which is just really the 600 film without a battery in it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that I really like about this camera, that it has a rechargeable battery built in, and it's good for I want to say they say 15 to 20 packs of film per charge.
Oh wow!
And it's just like a USB-C charger.
Oh nice.
So really easy, quick to charge up, and it's costs down the iType film is less expensive because you don't need the battery, and it's also less waste. I mean, you can just take the empty film pack out and throw it in a recycling bin, and then you're done.
Right, and you cannot take the old one steps and use the iType film.
Exactly.
In it,
so this will use the 600 speed film. You can put 600 film in this camera, but you can't put the iType film in a one-step 600.
Right.
So I'm hopeful that this response has been great. I would love to see, I don't know, if this time next year, Polaroid has a new NSX70 or something. That's
awesome.
it'd be amazing if they had a more advanced style camera. Because this is very much a point and shoot, which is the kind of thing I love about it, because it's fun. It's just a one step, which was the original one step.
How does this compare to the? Have you ever shot the I1? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, I've never shot it.
Okay.
Just from what I read a lot about it, and if you want one of those, you can't Impossible's store is all rebranded as Polaroid Originals now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but B&H still has them. And there are places around who got those cameras in stock. So the I1 it's a clunkier design camera, but it's a more advanced camera. So it actually has a bigger ring flash on the front of it. So it's got a more light, more flattering light. And the just subtle differences, like the viewfinder's in the middle on top versus on the side of this. But it also has the app control, which was the big thing about it. So with that one, you could use it as just a point and shoot, turn it on and like do automatic, but you could do manual exposures with the app.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was also a remote shutter for it too with this app control. So when they demonstrated it last year, I want to say, they were showing it on stage with like Oscar, the CEO of Impossible and now Polaroid Originals, was like doing a whole demo on it. And it was very, very cool. I don't know if they'll keep going with that kind of technology. It didn't do, I don't know if it did super well.
Yeah.
Just because of the cost. It was around $200 or so when it first came out. So I would love to get my hands on one and just give it a try, or see if maybe they kind of incorporate that kind of app control or something into the new, if whatever comes after this camera. But in the meantime, I'm just crazy excited that this thing is here and it exists, and it is awesome. I'm gonna be shooting a whole lot of. Now I can call them Polaroids again.
Are you still calling them impossible?
Oh, absolutely. It's going to take a while for it, man. I had an Impossible Project shirt before they were even making film.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I need to find that. But yeah.
Very cool. Well, we're gonna shift up gears a little bit. So away from the Polaroid, just some quick Kodak news. Kodak is going to be rerunning their TMAX 100 and 120. So a lot of people were kind of curious as far as what the heck happened to that film.
It's been over a year since it's been off the shelves, right?
Yeah. So what ended up happening is that they had some really bad issues with their paper showing up on the emulsions. So like there's just a whole bunch of images out there that show like the number 2, or the frame number that the paper would show, and then you would see the Kodak logo showing up in the actual final scan of the image. So a lot of people were saying, oh, the humidity is really bad and everything, but Kodak actually fessed up and owned it. Good for you, Kodak, by the way. And just came back and said, there was been some production issues and we pulled it off the shelves and we're fixing it. And they actually had like an RMA process for it.
That's excellent.
Yeah, I mean, they totally owned it. And so like if you have film that was affected by it, they are, from what I'm reading here, and a side note, there's actually a really cool website, and I'm going to go ahead and promote them a little bit because I think they're doing some good stuff. But we'll probably be competing against them. But that's they are thedailygrain.co. So it's a news-based website for film photographers or film photography. So I follow them. So I want to throw up my support out for them. So, but anyway. They went in there, and so this is the quote that they got from Kodak, which is pretty impressive, actually. There was a technical problem related to the unique attributes of TMAX 100 and 120 film backing paper that we have now resolved. Sorry it took so long, but the testing was pretty rigorous, and I hope that you can appreciate that the rather error on our side of protecting our black and white film customers. We will be resuming production of 120 format TMAX 100 in November. So it looks like it's going to be hitting back the shelves, which is pretty exciting because I really love that film. That's what I shot until I discovered Acros 100. So I still have 2 rolls of that TMAX 100 from last year, but I didn't have any of the backing issues.
Yeah, I haven't shot any TMAX 100 just because it hasn't been available. And I just recently started shooting TMAX 400 and really, really liked it. So I'm excited to give this a go.
Yeah, and I love their 4x5 TMAX 100. So it's pretty much a lot of photographers that shoot large format for landscape, like Clyde Butcher and all them.
Yeah,
they love TMAX 100. I mean, there's the grain is so hard to find, especially when you're shooting large format 8x10 and all that stuff. So I'm pretty excited that it's coming back in 120 because I really did love that film.
Cool.
So, and that's not the only thing from Kodak. I'm slowly building up my connections. I got a little bit of information about Ektachrome. So last week I said that I bought Ektachrome E100 VS, and I wanted to compare it between what the new emulsion will be like versus this one. And so I was in conversation with this person, and they said,
who shall remain nameless.
yes, could be he, could be a she. I'm not going to say.
You're right.
But they said that it will not be a VS emulsion. So it will not be a very saturated. It will not be something along the lines of like Velvia or something like that. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see what's going to come down the line.
Dude, I would love it if they actually had a slide film that was really good for like fashion and skin tones and things.
Yes.
Like that.
Absolutely.
Because that's kind of been missing since the last film that was really made for that was the Fuji Astia. And that's been discontinued for, about a decade now.
Yeah.
I don't shoot slide film because all I do is portraits, and it's just too saturated for
Yeah.
my liking. So.
It's really, really easy to mess up skin tones on slide film unless it's made for that.
Right.
So it's just, speculation and a wish. But
I would hope so, because I mean, most of the film that's being shot right now, I would say, is for portrait and stuff like that. I mean, portrait 400, 160 and all that is, pretty much what's keeping, I don't want to say it's keeping them afloat, but I mean, it's helped them out a lot.
I mean, those are their most popular film stocks. Well,
absolutely.
that and just Tri-X is always going to be the iconic,
Right.
It's the best selling black and white film in the world.
Right. So I'm pretty excited. So I think with that emulsion type, it keeps it pretty flexible to go and shoot more than just landscapes and stuff like that. So
Yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah, so we'll see.
I think they still are trying to get test rolls out by the end of this year.
Cool.
Sweet.
Well, actually, I did see something that production has started on it.
Yes, Matt Stoffel on, I think he's like the IT director or something like
he
that
works
at Rochester.
Yep.
Yeah, and he posted
He's-
a picture.
He's a solid Instagram follow.
Yes. Oh man, and even though it's like just pictures around Kodak, Eastman Kodak,
Dude, it's so cool.
so awesome.
I so want to. Excuse me. I had a chance to go to Rochester a few years ago,
Yeah.
and I didn't get to go to Kodak. It was just on this long road trip that my wife Amanda and I took, and we stopped in Rochester, driving from Niagara Falls down to New York City, and we got to go to the George Eastman house like 30 minutes before it closed, and then we had to get back on the road. And like didn't get to go downtown, didn't get to see Kodak Tower or anything. And now I'm just like, I need to go to Rochester.
Yeah.
I just want to wander around and be like, can I go in there?
Don't touch it. So hey Matt, if you're listening to this, man, please send us an invite, and we can record an episode. I don't know. Hey, maybe you have us on the Kodakery, and then we can have the Kodakery on us.
Yeah,
I don't
there
know.
you go.
Just spitballing an idea out there, man.
They're
So,
doing some cool stuff. I think Matt's actually running they started up the Kodak Camera Club again.
yes,
Which used to be
They
this
do
old
walks.
thing. They
Yeah.
do photo walks around Rochester. It's just local to there, but he kind of hinted at, we were talking a little bit about trying to maybe they'll bring some of those on the road.
Yeah.
So
I really wish that Kodak would like buy that the building that has their name on it on
yes,
Ponce.
actually,
Like,
Matt was saying he's always wanted to get down to Atlanta to see that building. That's like on his wish list.
Oh
So
my
they know
gosh.
about it.
they need to like do something with it.
Man, so
Like,
we're getting, just 'cause you brought it up, but no, you're fine.
I think about it every time I.
it's
pass
an
it.
amazing building, and
Yeah.
I am a know-it-all. So here we go.
Dun, dun.
Yeah. So Michael, the owner of Dunwoody Photo, and I always have talked about that building. He looked at actually trying to buy it or rent it to turn into a photo lab again.
Oh wow.
So that building itself is horrendous. It's
man.
the actual inside of the building is just beyond all hope and repair. But the Kodak sign on the roof is a historical landmark.
Yes.
So that sign can never be taken down. So
That's
someone
awesome.
has actually bought that block and the person who was selling it was only like selling it by the entire block. So like millions and millions of dollars of prime Atlanta real estate right now. But somebody has bought it and is redeveloping it I think they might turn some of it into luxury apartments or something else that, you know, is the current trend. But that sign has to be left on the roof of the building.
Oh,
So
wow.
they basically can gut the entire building, which they'll need to because it's in rough shape. But they have to keep the sign. That roof has to stay intact with that Kodak sign on it.
That's pretty great.
Yes.
I always like get worried that someone's gonna buy it and just like tear it down and
Nope.
everything.
Yeah, he like Michael showed me like the city of Atlanta like paperwork and stuff on it and everything. that sign is a historical landmark that has to remain.
Yay.
Yeah, I found the article here. So the so-called Kodak building traded hands on Friday. Now, granted, this was back in 2016, so just dating the article here. So here it is. It says the so-called Kodak building traded hands on Friday as part of a 3-parcel deal that fetched nearly $2 million, according to Johnny Gonzalez of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Plans call for the building to undergo a modern style transformation and become the 3rd location for the Salveo Integrative Health, a progressive healthcare organization with more than 20,000 annual clients.
Interesting.
So it looks like it's going to be some kind of
Like-
wellness center.
Huh. But it's going to have that giant Kodak sign on the roof still.
Yeah. So interesting.
Yeah.
I wish it was apartments. I would live there.
Right?
Oh, yeah. No kidding.
Dude,
That's
I,
on
like
my
in
house.
my wildest dreams, I would like buy that building, have like a photo studio lab on the ground floor, and then live on the top floor.
Yes.
Heck yeah, man.
Oh.
I'd do it too. So, well, that is pretty much it for the photo news. So we're just
We had a lot of news this week. We weren't planning to get that gear heavy.
That there wasn't that many things. You just had a lot to talk about.
All right, I'm going to stop talking and let our awesome guests talk here for a
Yes.
minute. So, hey, how's it going,
Hi.
Jordana?
Great. This is fun.
Cool.
Also, I kind of want to call this episode X because of the iPhone.
I like it.
Look at that.
Yeah.
But this is a film thing, so.
well, I mean, it's photography in general. Okay. Crap. We were going to let you start talking straight.
No, go.
So, Stranger Things came out today, the day that we're recording this.
How did I forget?
Yeah, and I can't watch it yet because Amanda's out of town this weekend. But
I'm not getting any sleep tonight. I'm binge watching all of
Bill,
it.
you never get any sleep. That's not any different.
Well, but I'm not going to get anything done.
Okay,
like,
that's
like
fair.
when I don't sleep, I'm doing stuff like this. I'm totally going to veg out, and I'm going to upset my wife that I watched it all. But I will be okay with it because I'll watch it again with her.
Okay, well, that's not trying to cause discord in the house of Manning, but you know, I just bring it up because it's very timely. The place we're at right now, Dunwoody Photo, had a part in making the first season happen.
That's right.
So I think we mentioned it once before in an earlier episode, but Michael actually made the negatives that they use in the darkroom scenes of the
Oh, yeah, I remember.
you know, of the monster when they took pictures of the
Yeah,
the Demogorgon. You know,
Yeah, the brain scans.
no, that's actually that's for this season.
Oh.
The brain scans are for season 2.
Oh,
So
well, the season's out now, so we can talk about that. Right?
I don't know, but
Spoiler alert.
yeah, it's not much of a spoiler. But season 1 actually really cool. We had no idea what was going on with it, and they contacted him. They had the art department made these images, and they wanted an actual authentic darkroom where they could see it projected, printed. So Michael like made pictures, recorded on the film, developed it for him. I kind of helped him get the stuff they needed to set up a darkroom and everything for
That's
it.
so awesome.
That's
So
really exciting.
yeah, we've got a little, you know, tiny
to fame.
little claim to fame.
But I don't see you on IMDb though.
Dude, I'm not. I had the chance to go on set for that, and I turned it down.
What is
Why?
wrong with you?
I had no idea what it was. It was, you know, like just a Netflix show, and this was before Netflix was producing everything awesome in the world.
Oh,
You know,
Fair
man.
enough. All right, I'll let you slide. on
and
that.
it was in the middle of wedding season or something. I was like, I don't have time to spend a week on a random film set for something that'll just be, you know, who knows what.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know it was going to be awesome.
Dang it.
I know. So I was like this close to hanging out, you know, with Winona Ryder and awesome kids. So, but yeah. So anyway, that's
cool.
just felt timely to mention that. Awkward pause, and now back to Jordana. So hey,
So, Jordana, we have you on the show because you do some awesome photography. And He's so humble about it. Um, we got onto your Instagram, and we'll give your Instagram out there,
And your
at the end
website,
and all that
you
stuff.
got a really solid portfolio website.
You
too.
do.
I'm impressed by that.
Yes. So you're just I met you at the TMAX party, and your work is just awesome. And I was like, we were thinking about who we wanted on the show and everything to talk about photography. Yeah, we talk about tech and all, and gadgets and ISO and aperture and all that, but there's something much more with your photography that that really draws me in. And so when we were putting the show together, I was like, oh, it would be awesome if Jordana could bring in some of her work. So we printed it, and so we're going to be also talking about it. So for the listeners, what we'll do is we'll put them up on Facebook, and just to kind of give you guys a visual so that way you can listen in on what we're talking about. So if you're listening to it in the car, just play back to it, go on Facebook, look at it. We'll also put it into the YouTube video. Even though it's not really a video, it's just a picture that runs throughout the entire audio clip. I would recommend at this point right now is to kind of just bring your attention back into the YouTube video, and we're going to put those images in the video as we're talking about it.
And while you're there, like and subscribe.
Yes, please. So there are a few folks. I just want to toss a quick shout out to some of the folks that are sharing it out there and saying such great things. Thank you so much. It really does help us out at small victories throughout the day. That really helps me out. So thank you again, guys. So back on to Jordana.
Yeah.
So tell me, what gets you started into film?
Or photography in general.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember exactly why I got interested in photography, and I can't remember. I was pretty.
That's all right.
I was pretty young when I decided I wanted a camera. Like I was telling you earlier, a Polaroid camera was my first camera I ever bought with my own money, and it's shameful. I actually don't even know. Do you know the one I'm talking about? The 600. It's a 600, but I don't know
So they had from the mid 90s onward, they just were calling them one steps. They were like 1 step 600s or ones.
There was a 1 step close up.
Yeah, there was a close up, but those were all 80s and early 90s. So the one you're talking about, the rounded one that popped up, they just called it the one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's the one that I had that I bought. I think I was 12 or 13. So I spent my own money on that. I remember specifically too, my mom and I were at Walmart, and she was like, "Are you sure you want to spend? This is all of the money you have." I was like, "Yes, I want this. This is it." So, so I got it, and I took a bunch of photos of my friends and stuff. And then I think I was 13 or 14 when I got a digital camera for my birthday. It was I don't even know, a half a megapixel. And it wasn't even a megapixel. It was it had no LCD screen. It just had that, whatever that green kind of looking screen is on the back.
It was just
whatever, exactly.
Yeah.
It just had numbers on it or whatever. It was super, super low tech. And then somewhere around that time or that year, I guess my parents realized oh, well, if she's using this little camera and her Polaroid and whatever, then maybe she's kind of serious into it. And so I again, my memory is terrible, but somehow I got an SLR, a film. It was a Minolta SLR camera, and then I just really took off and started shooting. So because at that time digital really wasn't a thing, it wasn't good quality or anything like that.
It was kind of more of a gimmick, just kind of getting started.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I really just started taking pictures of everything with my Minolta, and it's funny, I didn't really think about it back then. I mean, it was semi-automatic, but still, I was learning aperture, shutter speed, and all of that. I was 15 at the time, and it's funny because I think about it, and that year I shot my first wedding, actually, one of my mom's friends.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. 15?
When I was 15, and I was using this Minolta, And it's crazy to think about now after I've shot tons of weddings like on digital and stuff, and to think like I was 15 and I shot a wedding, like, whatever, this is a film. Like,
You're so much cooler than I was when I was 15.
and the cool thing is that, I mean, not to like say anything about myself or whatever, but like the pictures aren't horrible, and probably because they're film. Like, you know, it's like some of them are like, you know, not that bad. I was like, that like much better than like my early digital wedding work, I feel like. So that's kind of where I got started, and I never knew if I really wanted to like pursue it full time, I guess. It was just like, I'm not terrible at this. Like, maybe I could do it. Like, and a friend of mine who we were the same age, and she started getting into it at the same time, and we started to like pose for each other and just kind of go back and forth. We were also both in ballet, so I just remember always getting our tutus out and like walking in the woods and just taking pictures of each other back and forth. And I really liked to model back then. I thought that like I could do that. I got really like, the older I got, the more I was like, no, behind the camera is way better. Like, it's like super awkward in front of the camera, but that is kind of where some of my interests started to peak, was because I wanted to try to model. So anyway, but yeah, so I started doing that, and we took pictures of each other, and then sometime around then I started to really want to learn about it and get serious about like the technical aspect of it. So I enrolled in the New York Institute of Photography's correspondence course.
Oh, cool.
So they have been around for a long time. My aunt actually took their course when she was younger too. So like, I guess that was maybe like in the 70s or 80s or something like that. So anyways, they've been around for a while, and they sent me a bunch of like lessons, like booklets and things like that. And then gave me assignments, and I sent them like just 4x6 prints of my work. And then I would have like a dedicated instructor record like a cassette, like review of my work and mail it back.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it was pretty fun, super nerve wracking. Like as a teenager, I remember I would write this like long letter with my photos and be like, this is terrible. I know. I hate this part about it. Like, so, and he would always just be like, why are you trying to do my job? Like, calm down.
Oh,
like,
so you were ready for critiques for like college already?
Yeah, I guess so. But it was really scary. And it actually took me forever to finish the course because of that. Like, I would always just put it off. I had to ask for a couple of extensions. They give you a certain amount of time to finish it. And I was like, can I have an anyways, it took me several years to finish the whole course, but I finally did and got my certificate of professional photography, whatever that means. So whatever, I'm certified.
Hey,
and
that's awesome.
That really helped though, the technical aspect of it. And I have like fine art portrait-ish photographer, but the technical side of it is important to me. You know, I mean, like I don't like to like get caught up in it per se, but I like to know what I'm doing.
Yes.
And why things are happening.
Dude, absolutely. I had we've compared stories just from like, you know, fine art education and art school ridiculousness.
Yeah.
But there were people in my photo program who were like junior, senior levels who still couldn't properly expose a picture.
Yeah. Oh, it's so frustrating.
It just killed any kind of like whatever message or anything they were trying to get across in their work because it was just badly done.
Yeah. Or even, I mean, not to like talk smack about anyone, but people who are professionals who don't understand like really why they're doing it. And you can still have a good eye, but it's still sometimes like, I don't know, when you ask them a question or something and they really just don't get why things are being working out, and I don't know, it's almost disappointing too, because I'm like, that's really good. Like I want to know, but I wish you could tell me or explain.
Well, and I think also at the same time, it's like, so we were joking around how I got sucked into the comment section of the whole this Fujifilm stuff, but
Bill, what did I say last week?
Dude, it's my
or
vice.
probably the week before that.
It's my vice. So anyway, but somebody has said,
Have you thought about like just like taking up knitting or some other kind of hobby?
underwater basket weaving.
There you go.
But somebody said something that I felt sorry for the person almost a little bit, because they said, oh, well, film photography is dying and the only reason there's a bit of a revival now is because there's this emotional sentiment to it. And I was like, well, duh. It's, I mean, isn't that what art is? I mean, it's an expression of how we're feeling and communicating how we, to other people in those forms. That's essentially what the essence of art is,
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of felt like, I was like, man, I really feel sorry for you because you don't get it,
Mhm.
and there are just the people that get it. And then there are the people that just don't,
Mhm.
So it's like, for me, like the technical aspect is, I focused so much, like all right, so I've been shooting 7 years. And so like the first 5 years for me was like technical.
Mhm.
And now it's like when I go and do a shoot, I don't even think about the technical. It's like, this is the aperture I want. This is the ISO or the film that I'm
Mhm.
going to use, and then this is what the power of the light that's going to come out, and then it's full on engaging and trying to pull something out of the person that I'm working with.
Yeah, it's great when it becomes second nature.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
for
just
sure.
start turning dials and like what's gonna happen. And
Exactly, and I think that being super technical crushes creativity. I mean,
Mhm.
it's like when you start getting so meticulous, like, hold on a second, let me bring back this exposure. You're missing things that are happening around you at the same time.
But that's why you have to like know beforehand, so you
Yeah,
don't have to do that
exactly,
in the
exactly.
shoot. Like really, really like learn that stuff. And so,
Yeah.
And not be afraid to make mistakes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
God, there have been so many shoots where I've just completely hosed a shoot, and then but yeah, I learned from it. But I spent a lot of hours in Photoshop correcting that problem.
Dude, I am not entirely ashamed, but somewhat ashamed to admit that I was doing a shoot in actually the studio here a few months ago, and I forgot to load film in the camera for like half of the first few frames. And I looked down, I was like, "Oh man, can we do those again?"
That's like me with that shoot the other day when my sync speed was just
Oh
I was
yeah,
not paying attention to
I've
my
done that
shutter
one too.
speed and my sync speed, and I was like, oh my gosh, flipped out.
Yeah.
I was texting you the whole time.
hey,
I was freaking out. But honestly, like I cropped them and
Yeah.
they're really not that bad.
Yeah.
there were some really
So-
usable images on there, just like on that half of the frame.
Yeah, exactly. Thankfully, I don't shoot super close up.
Well, you were able to recover from that, but I'm new to rangefinder, so I totally had like half a roll of images that I shot with the lens cap on.
Oh, that's a rite of passage right there.
So yeah, I was like, oh, I got the film, and what the heck happened here? And then I stopped and I was like, oh
But now you'll remember to take off the lens cap.
no, no, not really.
Oh man, okay.
So-
So anyway, you went through the New York Institute of Photography, got like kind of comfortable with the whole technical aspect of things, and then what happened?
It was after I graduated high school. Like we were saying earlier, I just really didn't know what I wanted to do, like career wise. But I started taking like core classes at the Technical Institute in my hometown, and so math, English, whatever. But I was like very intentional. I was like, will these classes like transfer? I don't want to get a degree here. And will they like apply to like any major that I decide on? So I was glad that I did that, but it took forever. It took 4 years of just taking like one class a semester, and then and then I was like, I guess photography is my thing. Like I don't know anything else. Like I'm halfway decent at this. Like I'd like a college degree. I think that could be helpful, and I can't imagine doing anything else. So yeah, I decided to go to UGA and did their fine art photography program, Lamar Dodd. And yeah, I did that in 3 years because I was able to transfer those core credits. So
Nice.
So yeah, so I graduated 2014.
Cool.
With my BFA.
So in the UGA program, I guess what was the focus on the fine arts program? Like, I'm sure it was just more than just photography. I'm sure there was like.
Sure. So yeah, it's a degree, a fine art degree, with like a specialization in photography. So
Cool.
you're required to take two drawing classes, 3D design,
Oh, cool.
other things like that, before you can even choose your specialization. And then you have to apply to the program that you want to get into. And yeah, and so then within that you also have electives. So then I took several more drawing classes and really tried to learn how to draw. But,
I was gonna say most of mine would be like stick figures and stuff like
that's
that.
pretty much how it was.
I got lucky from my drawing classes. The professor that I took it with, like first day I was like, hey, I'm a photographer. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And he actually was really into photography. So he ended up and he knew I worked in a camera store. So we ended up like nerding out about gear half the time.
That's really lucky.
And he was like, I'm not going to hold you to the same standard as like an illustration major, just like try.
That was really cool about a lot of the professors too. What like their grading system is not like super technical. It wasn't just like how realistic can you draw this, or else I would have literally failed. It was bad. I was the worst in my drawing 1 and drawing 2 class by far.
Hey, me too.
So cool.
Probably nowhere near as bad as I.
I kept some of those drawings too. They are hilarious, but
I would always he'd always be like, oh, your composition's really great. And then walk away.
Yeah. So I was lucky too, though. Some of the advanced drawing teachers would work with me one-on-one. So I was able to learn a little bit better. And then I think it was drawing 3 or 4. My teacher, she had also taught me 3D design. And so she kind of knew me and knew what I was into. Anyway, I did a performance for my advanced drawing final. So I didn't actually draw at all. It was kind of cool. She was drawing with your body and
Nice,
just
yeah.
Cool.
a conceptual way. So
Right.
UGA is really into the conceptual side of things and not always super technical, which was super cool for those classes. On the flip side, the photo classes, sometimes I wish were more technical again, because I just kind of wanted to know what was going on. Some of them were, some of them weren't. It would just depend. But I learned about being an artist there, which is what I'm really grateful for. But the actual photography aspect of it, or I wish I had learned more about studio lighting or technical
Right.
things
Gotcha.
like that in the program. But
So I was just wondering, because I know I had a similar kind of experience in college, as far as being in a fine art program that wasn't always focused really heavily on the technical side of things. So I would just love to hear how going through that kind of that fine art program has influenced how you work and shoot and everything that you're doing now.
Yeah, I definitely think that it taught me to think like an artist. So just having intention with everything that I shoot. I mean, really trying to push the conceptual side of things, always asking why, why is my subject like this? Or, even with my more fashion kind of stuff, really trying to have some sort of meaning behind with their clothing or their hairstyle or anything
Right.
like that. Just getting that message across in everything I do, a feeling or something like that. A lot of my work in school was about relationships. And so I really tried to use that in my photography today. Even if I just have a single subject, it's just about my relationship with them or about their relationship with an object or just these
Interesting.
emotional connections and trying to pull that out. I'm not saying I would always accomplish it or half the time. I mean, I forget about it or get too caught up in something else. But that's like the goal. And I think that that's what I learned the most from art school.
Nice. That's awesome. I mean, it's really cool you say that, because it seems just like, even we were looking through images to like see which ones we wanted to print out and talk about. And I just kept coming up again and again, like stuff that's in your portfolio. It seems the images seem very thought out and very purposeful. Like there's always something, like just looking at them, like even the ones that we have here, they're all different, very different compositions, even slightly different subject matter, different film stocks and things. There's different, some are like a little more underexposed and grainy, one's like really sharp and saturated, but all of them seem like there's something happening.
Yeah.
There's this like moment in it that is like just kind of like frozen. Like it could be like a still from a movie. It like was reminding me a little bit, even like I was talking to Bill about Gregory Crewdson earlier.
Wow, that's a huge compliment.
Yeah, definitely. You've definitely got a Crewdson vibe going on.
That's really sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So what has, for anybody who hasn't had a chance to look at your work or anything, what kind of work are you making right now? What's really the subject matter that you're interested in?
So I don't know. Lately I've been calling it fashion-inspired film portraiture, just because I think fashion it's really about clothing, and I don't think my work always focuses on the clothing. I mean, I think that that clothing has, all the parts of the image work together, but there's something about like, if you are a fashion photographer, you have to know like how to photograph clothes to look their best. It's really not about the person, and my work is always about the person, I think, or the feeling surrounding the person.
Right. Gotcha. So the clothes are more of just something to help accomplish or convey that feeling.
Yeah, that's what I think. So yeah, but then on the flip side, it's like, it's not a standard portrait either, because I'm not always necessarily after capturing that actual person, not to like sound bad or anything.
No, they're very stylized for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of just about like a certain mood. It's usually like projecting feelings that I have. I don't know if that sounds like selfish or whatever.
No, not at
it's
all.
just kind of how I think a lot of people's art is about themselves in some way. So I kind of, like I was saying earlier, like I'm not good at self-portraits, so I use these like things from my past or how I'm feeling and just try to pull that out of my subject.
Sure.
So so I don't think you can really call it just straight portraiture either, because I think that should be about the person like that you're photographing. So so yeah, it's kind of hard to define. I really had a hard time with that. I've had people look through my portfolio too, and they're like, like you can't, because I tried to like categorize my website by like different, like this is fashion or beauty or this is portrait. And they were like, but that's really not. So I've had a hard time with that. And also trying to see like who is my client too, like from a business standpoint. So that's been interesting. But yeah, just artsy. I don't know.
No, that's cool.
That's fun.
I always had was always really conflicted about like what I wanted to do, like as a living with photography.
Yeah.
And like to actually, like I love fine art, but a lot of the fine art world annoys the crap out of me.
Yeah.
So it was so much more about like kind of doing, for me, like when it comes to shooting for clients, kind of the opposite of like you're saying, that portraiture of capturing the real person or the moments. Yeah. And I ended up not like kind of going in the fine art route. And that's starting to come back around in some of my stuff. I just find it really cool and interesting that you are going in that direction instead. Like we've talked a lot about like how, weddings aren't your passion. And like, just that kind of portraiture doesn't like really speak to you in the same way that this does, which I thoroughly appreciate and like wish more people would actually just go and make the work that they want and like actually is their voice.
you have to find people who will buy that work, though.
That's true.
So
yeah,
it's
it's not like you can't just like get like somebody, hires you for their family pictures or something.
I know, because they don't want their family to look like your mood, like emotions from your past. Like, no. So I wish sometimes that I'm grateful for my background in wedding photography and things like that. So I can turn that off. I can turn my whatever artsiness off when I need to, but
Go commercial.
For sure. But I think that if I'm honest with myself and my work, I produce the best work when I just have time and just like really like think it through.
Yeah.
So
And it's true because like right now, so I did a shoot with you a couple weeks ago, and I said, I'm trying to learn how Annie Leibovitz does her lighting and all that stuff, and just I love her dramatic style of posing people and everything like that, and her shots and everything. And I said, I want to learn, but I don't want to be like, he's trying to be like Annie Leibovitz or something like that. It's like I would say, like, because you guys have such an extensive background and understanding of fine art, or an extensive understanding of art in general, like in the sense of like discovering yourself and everything. Like for me, it's like I have literally no background, and like it's just, that's a cool image. Let me see if I can do that. And that's kind of how like I'm kind of discovering myself at this point.
That's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, like I fell in love with landscape photography because Ansel Adams' work spoke to me.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go out and try to make something that was along those lines, or like try to see light the way he did.
Yeah.
And started to find my own voice in landscape.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge. You see so many artists like taking an art history class or something that'll be, this piece was after, I don't know, whoever, like this painter did this. The title is the title of this painting is just study after Vermeer, or like study after such and such.
Right.
Or
I mean, that's how you learn. I read this great little booklet in school. It had, like, Steal Like an Artist, I think.
yes, yeah.
That's great. Like, it's like that's what you got to do pretty much, because you have to start somewhere. And like the people who can, look at work that they admire and try to replicate it, they actually, like, I feel like move forward more quickly than someone who just like I don't want to look at anything, like I want to be original or whatever. I actually saw this great quote on my friend's Instagram. Hang on a second.
Well, it's just, I mean, the same thing of like being in a band or something, learning to play an instrument.
Yeah.
You play the music that's inspired you and you love.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And then you start to find your own voice in it.
I don't know who said this, but the quote is just, in literature and art, no man who bothers about originality will ever be original. Whereas if you simply try to tell the truth without caring twopence how often it has been told before, you will 9 times out of 10 become original without having noticed it. And I don't know. I think that's like pretty cool. It's just like, you can't think too hard about like where, I don't know.
That's so good.
Yeah,
yourself,
that's an awesome quote.
Yeah, I had someone, and it was actually because of art school that I finally like was able to articulate what I wanted to say about like the things that I was moved to photograph. And even like, like someone I read, there's probably countless articles about how, a picture of Yosemite Valley, Ansel Adams took it better than anyone ever will, and no one ever should take that photo again. And it's, like, yeah, exactly. It's just stupid because just for the simple act of, I've never gone and taken that picture. It's unique. Even if I were to take a carbon copy of the image he took, the simple fact of me going and doing and taking that picture is something individual, and it's something new, and it's something that I've never done before.
Well, it's like, even I was watching some sort of like Discovery Channel thing, or maybe someone told me, I can't remember exactly, but they were like, just by observing nature, you're changing it, right? So it's like just the fact that like you were in that spot, it makes it different than when Ansel was there. It's
exactly.
Like your own like body chemistry or whatever you want to say, like just like, I mean, you're changing the atmosphere.
A different moment in time, for sure.
Well, that for sure.
And we're all just this, like, we are in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to something like photography or any kind of expression, like the amalgamation of our influences. Like there's going to be something that maybe it's just seeing an image or someone else or someone gave us, I mean, shoot, even someone just like gave us an encouraging compliment about our work, or something that just like gave us that moment in time was just like, I'm feeling really good about what I can make right now.
Yeah, totally.
Is all an influence. So we're always, just as human beings, that's part of the human condition. We're always absorbing and like taking stuff in and processing it. And art is an amazing way to actually like get all that together into something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So since we're on the topic of inspirations and stuff like that, do you have any inspirations or any artists or photographers that you kind of feel that you're kind of drawn towards?
Yeah, definitely. I think, well, Crutzen is awesome. And that's like really cool that you like compared me to him, because his work is amazing. And it's funny, actually, he was one of my professors at UGA. Gregory Crutzen was his assistant at one point in time.
No way. That's
Yeah.
one of my professors at Georgia State went to grad school with Gregory Crutzen.
Oh, wow. That's so funny.
Yeah, like 6 degrees of Crutzen, apparently.
Yeah, his work is amazing. I really like that. But lately I've been really looking at Emily Soto's work, just like her fashion stuff. She shoots a lot of Polaroids as well in 35 millimeter film,
Nice.
along with her digital work. So I'm really inspired by her fashion work. It's very clean and simple, but still has that like analog aspect to it, which I like. Fine art wise, I've always really loved Ryan McGinley. I don't know if y'all are familiar
No, I'm not.
No, I'm not.
with him. He was one of the youngest people to have a retrospective. I think it was MoMA, but I'll have to look it up. It was in my presentation that I gave the other day, but I should have brought those notes. But anyway, he does a lot of all on film, all 35 millimeter. He kind of got famous for this like photographing his friends, just kind of like running wild and this like free spirit kind of like feeling with his friends. A lot of nudes, just like in nature, which are really cool. And then he did a great series in studio with people and animals, which really inspired my work I did in school with taxidermy that I shot on 4x5 film. So yeah, his work is really inspiring to me. Those are like my two. Like when I think about what kind of photographer I want to be, I want to be a blend of Emily Soto and Ryan McGinley.
Sure.
Like that would be like my ultimate. But I have like, I follow so many people on Instagram and stuff that I can't even keep up with them. I want to like write down everyone I follow on Instagram and why, and like just like organize it somehow. Because if you follow me on Instagram, you should look at my followers. Those are the people not my followers, the people I follow, because those are who inspire me. I'm always screenshotting and just like building up this like things to draw from for shoots and make mood boards.
That's awesome.
Things like that. So
Very cool. Well, we're going to move into some of your work that has kind of, I would say, at least has inspired me because we were talking about, I said, pick out 3 images that you really like. And you said, oh, geez, you're making me pick out the images? And I said, okay, you know what? That's an interesting concept. I said, how about Steven and I will go through your work and then we pick out the ones that we really like. And then you pick out the one that you really like. And so everybody that's listening to this, go ahead and switch it over to your visual mode. And so Facebook or on YouTube. So we're going to be posting up the images of the work. So the one, Steven, the one you picked out is really cool. So kind of dive into that one, Jordana. Tell us about that particular image.
okay. So this was a really great shoot I did I had a team. This model's also a makeup artist. Her name is Kayleen. I I just wanted to do something with disco balls. I don't know. I think that's kind of just where my little, like, the concept started. So just something with disco balls. And so it kind of started to evolve into this, like, after the party kind of vibe. So,
Oh, cool.
and it was cool because I had another good friend of mine, Kelsey Lee, style it. So I had never really worked with like a stylist. So she picked out the outfits, and she has her own little like vintage booth at Paris en Pons. And so she's just really great with clothing. And so she picked out outfits based on this theme. And then,
Nice.
and then we had, a whole like mood board going with makeup and things like that. And so Kayleen did her own hair and makeup, which was awesome. And so I ended up calling this whole set About Last Night. So it's kind of like,
Cool.
and then our friend let us use her loft. And so we kind of just went in her loft, and I just like blew up a bunch of balloons and like had some disco balls and like confetti and things like that, and tried to like set this scene of like the day after a party and kind of just like the mood that you might have. So, and not to like, I mean, she's beautiful, and not like, she doesn't look like disheveled. It wasn't supposed to be like a
It wasn't supposed to be
hungover.
like she had a
kinda
rough
just-
night after.
Yeah, like, it was just kind of like, last night was fun, and now I'm waking up and like it's kind of a mess. But anyway, that was just kind of like my thought behind it.
No, that's really cool to hear, because there's something in just like some of the, I don't know if it's intentional or just she caught the vibe of it. There's something about looking through this series, her expressions that are very like, it's like you said, it's not like last night was the worst night of my life, or like, I've need to make better choices. But it was just this kind of like, well, this morning's not as good as last night was. There's this little bit of just like, just really I don't know if you call it melancholy, just this like slight longing in her face, like in her expressions, which I really, really like.
And the lighting kind of reflects that as well. I mean, like she's in shadow, and then like you have all this light that's hitting that disco ball, and everything's illuminated there, and then she just kind of falls off in the shadow at the same time. So that's cool.
Yeah, but I mean, it stood out to me as like just a really solid series, and it's really very eye-catching too. I mean, that color of her hair is just like immediately,
It's amazing.
yeah, it's so good. But yeah, it was just I loved it. It was a little bit of a departure from some other stuff I've seen you do, as far as just like how kind of it was more higher contrast. It was, like a little bit, I want to say a little bit more polished images than some other stuff.
It was one of my favorite shoots of this past year for sure. I think it just all really came together, like the theme, like my team, like the people I was working with, everything just really worked, and I was like really excited about it. It doesn't always happen that way. So yeah, I'm really proud of this shoot. It's the one featured on my site still, because I think it's one of my best.
I'm really impressed that you had a mood board and everything that went with that. I mean, to be honest with like my shoots, I'm just like, hey, let's do shoot.
I mean, I do that all the time too.
Yeah.
So, but it is interesting to see, like, when I put the extra effort into pre-planning, I do like the results better usually after. So, but yeah, 9 times out of 10, I'm just like, just do whatever. Like, I'm just gonna play.
Nice.
So.
Yeah. So just, I know we didn't want to focus too much on the gear side of things, but I know you've been like, you're consistently using the same camera setup pretty much through all of these.
Yeah. I don't really stray from it because it works, and it's the really the only one that I have that's like a full setup. So yeah, I use an Olympus OM1, my mom's old camera from the 70s that she got after high school graduation. So yeah, I've got 4 lenses for it, just the 51.8 that came with it, and then I have a 51.4 now that I use all the time. It's like my favorite.
Nice.
And then I have a 35 2.8, which is a very like a cheaper like lens, and so it's like kind of the contrast is not great and a lot of vignetting and things like that, but it has this other image actually was taken with it, and so it's actually has a really cool effect to it.
Yeah. Well, tell us about that one.
This picture.
So this is the one you picked out.
Yeah, I really like this photo because I think it is different from some of my other work. This model is my good friend Erin, and she is always pushing me to like, I don't know, just get weird. Like,
Sure, yeah.
we're gonna just do something crazy. And this shoot, she's a musician. She goes by Pip the Pansy.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, my friend Trevor actually plays guitar for her a lot of times.
Oh, cool. I think I might have just met him the other day. So cool.
Probably have.
Yeah. So so we went to school together. She actually has a degree in photography too. We graduated together, and she's a fabulous photographer.
So you guys went to school together?
We went to school together, and then we were actually roommates last year in Atlanta, which was really fun. And so we got to hang out and do shoots a lot. So she planned this shoot. It was actually taken at a bed and breakfast in Watkinsville, so right outside of Athens.
Oh, cool.
That has just this like really cool decor, and every room is like a different color, and it's really crazy, but super awesome. And her style is always really fun and funky, and so she did her own styling and hair and makeup, and so it was just the two of us working. And our friend Rachel just kind of assisting and hanging out with us. But it was a really fun day. We did like 5 or 6 different looks in just like 2 hours or something.
Wow.
It was like a really quick and which was fun too because I got I'm forgetting Khaleesi was there helping me with lights. His work is awesome too. So we should post all these people.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
My memory, is terrible. But anyway, so that was really fun to try to like cram all this different stuff into one day. So I couldn't really think too hard at one time. So we're just kind of like bouncing around from here and there, and she just hopped up on this ottoman and started moving, and I just was shooting. Like I wasn't really thinking. I was trying to like get loose, because
Right.
I usually my compositions are like pretty tight, and like I'm like always like very anal about the edges and everything. And if anything is off, I'll straighten it in post, and I'll crop in a tiny bit or whatever.
I know exactly what you mean.
Super, super particular about my compositions, but sometimes I think that that's a downfall. So I can get too in my head, and I just wanted to let loose a little bit, and she really helps me do that. So anyways, I just started shooting, and for some reason I just really like the way that this came out because it's like tilted, like my camera's tilted, and the lines of the ceiling are just kind of coming in, and then she's kind of crooked, the way she was like dancing on the ottoman. And
I mean, it looks like when I first saw that image, it was very intentionally staged of her like being in this perfect little negative space between the mirror and the chandelier.
No, it was total accident. And I have a couple of other shots from that one, but this one, just like that moment was just perfect. And so I was happy for that happy accident. And I love the Cinestill, the halation on the chandeliers.
Oh yeah, was that with the 800T?
Yeah,
Nice. Cool.
yeah. And I know a lot of people don't like that aspect of that film, but it's like my favorite part of it.
Oh, it's so cool. If you just have to expect it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think if you're not expecting that to come out on there, it can ruin your day.
Yeah.
But
I love it.
Very cool.
yeah, so I love the fact that I don't know, just it sounds like you try to force yourself sometimes to work within some limitations and also try to remove limitations. So that's awesome. I mean,
that's another, I think, product of art school too. I just was like never satisfied, like always trying to push myself, like it's never good enough or whatever. And that I found that when I was uncomfortable, I produced really interesting imagery.
yeah.
So
absolutely.
really trying to like push myself to do something that I wouldn't normally do. Like I did, photos with snakes because I'm terrified of them or stuff like that. Like where I'm like,
You're much braver than me.
I
Yeah,
hate
right.
this. So I'm gonna photograph this because I hate it.
Interesting. And then you got to have it like right in your face again, reliving it when you're in post with it.
So scary.
No, thank you. So I picked this one out. I think it's the tones that really drew me, and then the shapes. So it almost has that feeling of like it was almost like a street photography shot. And this is me not knowing anything about the background of this story. So like, but like the lines going off in the edges and the blue railing, the blue and the reds and the whites, just everything just contrasted. Like, so as I was going through, like I instantly stopped because it's just like the tones on it just really, really drew me to it. And what was really cool is in your shadows, you have that grain. And then when we printed it out on this paper, it actually gave a lot of texture to this image that I was not expecting. And I was like, oh, I like this picture even more.
Yeah.
So tell me more about this particular shot.
Yeah. So this shoot was kind of I don't know, thought of in combination of the other two shoots. So I was particular about like the styling, but also this is a good friend of mine, Rachel, from back home, and I just wanted to photograph her. I photographed her first when she was a senior in high school, and then I just was like, you're an awesome model. Like, I want to shoot you all the time. So we went out to this fun building here in Atlanta, and yeah, just kind of played. And this image really is really different from my work again, because I tend to really focus on the face, I feel like.
Yeah,
and
sure.
so to not have the face in the image was different for me. And I can't really remember why I chose that. I mean, maybe I had some like Guy Bourdin, like kind of in the back of my mind. Like, I don't know if you guys know his images, but like, he does a lot of just like fashion photography, but focus on like the legs and like the arms and things like that. So, maybe that was, somewhere in the back of my mind, but yeah, this was an example of, I think, one of my tighter compositions where I was pretty intentional about the lines and everything going on, but it definitely turned out better than I thought it would. So, especially because this was kind of before, so I've gone back and forth between film and digital. In school, I was like pretty committed to film for my my projects, but then after school I was still shooting some digital, and I think this was like one of like the turning point shoots. I guess this was a couple years ago now when I shot both. I shot film and digital, and so anyway, so this is underexposed, and that's why it's so grainy. Like, I was still trying out different film stocks and things like that, and it's just underexposed, but it was kind of cool. And even though if I look at this shoot, like all the digitals and film side by side, like the film is way grainy and way dark and everything, but it's still, I don't know, had that feeling or whatever that I really enjoyed. And pretty much after that, I was like, no, like, put your digital camera away. Like, just do it. Just like get a light meter maybe, and like actually like, no, figure out what you're doing. But yeah, then I went all film pretty much after that.
So I really like the tones in this image, like the as far as like even just like the values of her legs are really similar to the wall and the stairs. It's like there's not a lot of contrast. I like, and that's partially because I think it's underexposed. It is a flatter image, and it works so well for this picture.
Yeah.
Cool.
So what was the thing that made you decide, like, what was it about film that made you like want to stick with it and kind of, like you said, put the digital camera down?
I think it was just like the way that I work when I'm shooting digital. I get too caught up in like the screen, It's like kind of like an everyday life,
Absolutely.
like looking at your phone 24/7 and not like living in the moment. So I just found that I was getting better results from my film images, and I was just, I don't know, thinking about it, and I was like, I think it's because I'm not too focused on the the end product or the what's going on in the back of the camera. I'm focused on what I'm doing
Yeah,
in the
for
moment,
sure.
what my subject is doing. And I found that I actually started to trust myself even more because I'm like you've been studying photography for years. Like,
Mhm.
why are you so like freaked out about every little thing, you know? And it's just that like anxiety that actually calmed down when I started shooting film,
That's
which
great.
seems
Yeah.
backwards, I think, to some people who, you know, need that screen to calm
Yeah.
themselves down, maybe. But for me, it was like, this is making it so much worse. Like I'm too much of a perfectionist that I needed something to force me to let go.
There's some truth to that because what I've just recently done is I actually sold my Nikon D610 and I sold my 70 to 200 VR2. I love that lens. I love that camera. I shot so many weddings with it. I've done so many shoots with it, and I I almost feel liberated at the same time
Mm.
because so I got my Mamiya 7 and everything, and going through the streets of Charleston and shooting completely film.
Mm.
I felt much more intentional in some of my shots that I was taking and everything. And there's one picture that I took. I posted it today actually on Instagram, where it looks symmetrical,
Mhm.
and then you start nitpicking things out of it, and you're like, "That's not symmetrical at all." Like the door's closer to one window, the one window is higher than the other window, the foundation is off, and everything. Um, and
Now I can't unsee that, Bill. Thanks for writing that.
and I saw that, right,
Mm.
and so I took that picture and everything, and I didn't tell Jessica about it, and my wife, and so she's very 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 detail oriented. Like, I mean, if something is out of place, she totally notices it. So I'm working. Honestly, I really didn't do anything with that picture. Like, I scanned it in, and I was like, it's perfect. Like the
Mm.
exposure, everything was dead on and everything. And but there was a sense of being much more intentional with my shots, and
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm going to have my fair. Well, I already had my fair share of failure with that camera with the lens cap on, but there is that sense, and then just trusting yourself,
Mm.
and I think that right there is going to make photographers even better because it's like, if I take this shot and it's completely wrong and it's not exposed correctly, then yeah, it's a wasted shot or something like that. But I mean, you're stopping yourself and saying, okay, what am I going to do? What am I about to do? Right?
Mhm.
Rather than take a picture, look at it, chimp it, and go, oh, no, you're really not getting anything out of that. Right?
Mhm.
So failure is really part of that process, and I think that I'm learning a lot more now that I'm simply just a Mamiya 7 at this point.
Dude, good on you.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's challenging yourself too. I know for me in shooting client work, like for the longest time I've been all film on my personal stuff. And like, you
Mm.
know, really similar like through school. And then you start shooting stuff that people are paying you for and you're like, "Oh, I've got to have this on digital because I've got to get it
know.
right." I've been over the last year, like I've been shooting all film for like some portrait shoots and engagement sessions and a lot of film at weddings, but I would never shoot all film or even any film when it came to like kids. Because I'm like,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
always running around, always squirming. Last year I started doing like even like family portrait shoots and like with small kids all on film.
Wow.
And I freaking love it.
Wow.
And I just did on Sunday an all film portrait shoot with like a 6-month-old,
Wow.
and it was phenomenal. Like I'm like I never thought of myself like as a newborn photographer. I'm still not. I'm never gonna like put a kid in a pumpkin, but it was no knocks against anybody who does. That's just not my shtick.
There's a lot of patience in newborn
Right.
photography.
And a lot of people who are very like I've got a friend, she kills it. She's very meticulous. She will do composites, like those pictures of like a newborn like holding themselves up by their arms and like
Yeah.
where a baby can't hold up their head at that point. There's somebody holding it, but she photoshops out their hand and they look
Yeah.
great though, but that's just not my thing. But this was just in their apartment in Atlanta with window light and this baby on a bed. And I think previous shoots, I would be sitting there like worrying about, am I getting that image? Was that sharp? Looking at a screen.
Right.
Before I realized I had like burned through 6 rolls of Portrait 400 just
Wow.
like of shooting this 6-month-old baby. It didn't hurt that she was crazy happy and like super cute.
Aw.
But these are like some of, I think, the best like family pictures I've ever taken. And I just went for it. I left the digital camera in my bag and just shot film and had fun.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
I feel like if I continue with family portraits, seniors especially, and even weddings, like I don't want to do it on digital.
Right?
Like, I mean, if my personal work is better on film, I'm sure my commercial stuff would be too. I just don't know what that, I got to switch that, like that thing in my head that's freaked out,
Right. Very
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's some people who, like, half the time I'll show up on these shoots and like be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got to change film." They're like, "You're shooting this all on real film?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." And then we end up having like a conversation, like walking around, like, "Oh yeah, I love it because of this." And then like an engagement session I just did, the bride to be was like, "Oh, I did that in school, and I love that, and I haven't thought about
Yeah.
film in years." And so sometimes people don't even realize that that's what you do when they hire you or like your work.
Mhm.
Right.
But yeah, my next hurdle is to shoot an entire wedding on film. I have
Yay.
yeah, that's one I haven't gotten there yet. I need to find the right person for that.
Just don't do it with that EOS one that you have.
Why? Because I'll just go super quick through everything.
You're gonna burn through a roll in like 3 seconds. You're gonna go.
Dude, it shoots 12 frames per second. So in like 3.5 seconds, I'd be through an entire roll.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So even then, that's a pretty amazing feat for that kind of camera.
Yeah, it's nuts how fast it goes.
Yeah.
I never have it in the high speed continuous because I'll like accidentally like bump a shutter button and be out like $10.
Very cool. Well, so how do we find you, Jordana?
Cool. So my website is jordanadale.com. It's JORDANADALE. And Jordana Dale on Instagram. So I have a Facebook page too. I don't update it as often, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
have
it's all-
I have a problem doing that one too.
Yeah.
So
Not
I
a
feel
fan.
like I've moved over to Instagram completely now.
yeah.
So
But then Instagram is owned by Facebook, so it'll all be the same.
they still
One
gotcha.
day. Yeah, exactly.
It is a lot harder for like Facebook business and fan pages to get engagement these days.
Yeah.
It really
It is. So
Sad.
except for us, we're really committed.
Yeah, exactly. So go and like our page on Facebook.
Yes.
But so I was going to ask, why did you? So your last name is Russell.
Yeah.
So why did you decide to go by Jordana Dale?
Yeah, so Dale is my middle name, and I honestly I just started thinking about like branding myself and everything, and my first thought was just like, well, what if I get married and I change my last name? Like then
That's a good point.
That's a very practical answer.
so then and my middle name is shorter too, and it just kind of seemed to flow together. It's funny though because I used to never tell people my middle name. It was like this big secret everyone would always guess, and now it's my business. So there you go.
Wait, turn the tables on.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool.
So
So yeah, do you have anything coming up that you'd like to promote as far as like even like, are you showing your work anywhere? Do you have any projects you're excited that you're working on or anything that, even just a favorite brand of something? I don't know.
I'm planning some shoots I'm excited about. This model Kayleen, she's changed her hair again.
Oh, nice.
So we're gonna shoot
Cool.
again. So I'm excited about that. I'm working with a local jewelry designer this weekend actually. Cameo is the name of her business. And she does this really awesome like handmade resin jewelry.
Oh, nice.
So it's really, really beautiful. And so I'm going to shoot like a lookbook with her.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I'm super excited about that. Going to be using some of my favorite models. And so I think that's going to turn out really well. We're going to be able to do some really, really cool things. And I'm excited about working with brands, just like local brands and hopefully branching off into bigger and better things like eventually. Like I think that's the goal is like brands, anyone who makes things, designs things. Like I think that's going to be my target market. So I'm excited.
Very cool. Well, thanks for coming onto the show and
seriously.
talking about your work.
Thanks for having me.
Your work is phenomenal, and I can't wait to see more of your work. I mean, so good on you. I'm stealing Steven's line on that one.
Yeah, that's all right.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I love how your images are incredibly intentional. I think that is what really sets you apart from, the wide gamut of photographers that are out there. I mean, every single little thing that you've placed in your images have a reason for being there, and I think that's part of the thing. Like, I mean, like if you look at some of the old Renaissance art, right? You have somebody pointing or looking at a different direction, it's like there's a reason why they're doing that. And if you're aware of that, it's like almost kind of like a game almost when you're looking at it. And I see that in your images as far as like there's so much going on and everything's so intentional. And that's why I'm drawn to your work. So keep it up.
Cool.
So I can't wait to see more. So
Thanks. Really appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Episode 10 is over.
X.
Man, episode X. So
I'm going to go home and go to sleep.
Oh my gosh. So, guys, this has been awesome. Thank you for those that are sharing the show. It really means a lot. Again, little victories throughout the day. When I see these come in, and I try to respond back to you guys as much as I can, and more great things to come. So episode 11, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm really excited about this one. This photographer, her name is Kate Lamb. She is a wet plate tintype photographer, and she has invited Stephen and I into her studio, and so we are going to see what it's like to get our portrait taken on a tintype.
Spoiler alert, I'm going to look awkward.
You know what? Sorry, guys. We're not going to share those images because I look extra derpy. Especially when I take my
I'm going to share the crap out of that image. Are you kidding me? I don't care if
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about it because I've seen tintype done in the background, and it is absolutely, and they do it with a strobe, and it's just absolutely breathtaking to see that process.
Yeah, that's a process I've never seen firsthand. So
Yeah.
I'm crazy excited.
Yes. So stick around for that one. That's coming down in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for this one. So again, Jordana, thank you for coming out. It was awesome to talk about your work here with you, and Stephen, can't wait to see for your blog on the Scala and the One Step 2, man. So keep an eye out for those.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. I
All
appreciate it.
All right, guys. Well, that's it, and we'll catch you on episode 11.
And shoot some film, dang it.
Yes, shoot some film, dang it.
Dang it.